Good morning. I am Chris Steyerwalt, and here are your buzz cuts from Fox News First. Off the top, Rubio makes his case for Obamacare bailout block. Stay thirsty, my friends. Marco Rubio, talking to House panel today, told them, come on, guys, get with the program. Go with a bailout plan. House Republicans are deciding whether or not to do a largely symbolic move on telling the president to go ahead and approve an oil pipeline from Canada he's probably going to approve anyway in exchange for raising the federal borrowing limit, or the slightly riskier, more enticing Marco Rubio plan that would call for a blockade of bailouts that, if enacted, would essentially gut Obamacare. So it's kind of a big deal. Number two, CB. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Jason Furman said some stuff yesterday at the White House briefing. Well, basically, they threw rotten tomatoes at him from the press corps, saying that if people quit working because it's more lucrative to be enrolled in Obamacare instead of working full time, they're just looking at other opportunities. It's just choices that people are making. And hearing today in front of the House Budget Committee further elaborates on the Congressional Budget Office's very damning report. The uh-ohs in this report, reports from this agency previously touted by the administration about how good Obamacare is. Number three, IRS boss will get more than a smidgen of heat. So John Koskinen is the boss man at the IRS. He is on the Hill today testifying. They don't like the IRS. Republicans in the House don't like the IRS a lot, and they were probably going to holler at him. One of the things that they're going to holler at him about is the fact that the President of the United States has already said there's no corruption at the IRS, despite the targeting of conservative groups. Going to be ugly. Number four, Pryor goes ugly early with Medi-scare ads. Now, Democrats run Medi-scare. That works for them. They say that Republicans want to take old people's stuff away from them. But usually you see that in October. If you want to know how things are going for red state Democrats this year, Mark Pryor is already spending money months before the primary election, even, against his likely Republican opponent, Tom Cotton, saying that Tom Cotton wants old people to not have health insurance. This is telling. And last, but definitely not least, livin' la vida Putin. Journalists from around the world are descending on Sochi, Russia, before the start of the Winter Olympics, the Winter Olympiad, as I like to say, on Thursday night. But globe-trotting journos are not finding Russian hospitality quite up to their standards. The Washington Post shares some of their discoveries. Like this, BBC reporter Kevin Bishop tweeted about his hotel having mixed amenities. The floor wasn't finished, yes, but it does have a super creepy picture of Russian President Vladimir Putin. The Chicago Tribune's Stacey St. Clair was first alarmed. Quote, my hotel has no water. If restored, the front desk says, do not use on your face because it contains something very dangerous. But she soon took a more optimistic tone, tweeting, on the bright side, I just washed my face with Evian like I'm a Kardashian or something. Those are your buzz cuts from Fox News First. You'd have it all already if you were a subscriber. It's so easy. Just give us your email address. Go to foxnewspolitics.com, sign up, they're in. But we're going to do it all right now because it's Power Play.
The risk of a bailout has always been high. As many of us predicted, these exchanges have not attracted enough young and healthy people to sign up. But the chances of the bailout have increased significantly in the last few months.
That was Marco Rubio. He's a senator from Florida. He was testifying in front of the House Oversight and Government Reform full committee hearing that they styled ObamaCare. Why the need for an insurance company bailout? Why? Well, here's why. Because that's part of the plan, guys. This is Power Play. And the plan is what? The plan is you put new regulations on the insurance industry about who they have to cover. Then when they lose money, you give them some so that things can even out. And that's always been the plan in the very long term on the health law, is that given enough time, things will work itself out. Now, some billions of liquid cash from taxpayers will help ease that transition. Rubio says, pick that as your place to fight. Bob Cusack knows. Here's the things Bob Cusack knows. Bob Cusack knows that he is the managing editor of The Hill. He also knows that The Hill is excellent, and we steal from it just so lavishly. I'm like I'm going through there like gleaning in a wheat field. I'm just
that's what we're we there for.
We're harvesting deep, but we're providing links and encouragement. And also, Bob knows that there's no way on earth that the Democratic Senate would ever allow this bill to advance, and if, because Harry Reid was kidnapped by lemurs or something, and somehow this legislation made it through the Senate, that the president would ever sign it.
Right. Absolutely correct. And that's why Republicans can win some political points. They're doing so today. Marco Rubio, who took some hits in 2013. But this is not going to go anywhere.
But why won't they? For the predicate, why wouldn't they?
Because they were hammered in the government shutdown when they tried
No. On the bailout. Why would they? Everybody hates bailout, and insurance companies aren't popular. So explain for the internet why the president would veto that.
Well, because if you pass this bill, you're basically gutting Obamacare. The insurance companies, remember, they were the villains of the health care debate. But this basically is a safety net for them in Obamacare. And the Democrats have a very long answer of why this is a bad bill. And the Republicans, just like on the CBO report, Democrats have a long answer. Well, wait a minute, it's not 2.5 million jobs. Right. It's complicated. Right. And the Republicans have a short answer. And, of course, if you're explaining, you're losing. So these are two big issues for the Republicans. And they want all this year to be about Obamacare and the president and his low approval ratings. They don't want to have any kind of, and that's why John Boehner's saying we don't have the leverage. We're not going to really fight this fight.
There's a shorter take. If you took the bailout out, the law would fail.
Correct.
You can't have the law without the bailout. It is.
The insurance companies would not participate.
Because the insurance companies would say, hey, guess what? If there's no free money,
right.
Well, as a poet once said, Nelson from The Simpsons, smell you later.
Yeah, that's right.
There'd be no chance that they would stick around because they would just get pasted. So they would leave and the law would start to unravel. That's why the president would veto it. That's why the Senate won't pass it.
Right. Do you think the House will pass it?
Well, that's why you're here, Bob. That's why you're here.
I think they might if they can get the votes, because most, but not all Democrats would vote no. This is a tough vote for some Democrats.
Well, it sounds like what the Speaker of the House is saying is, I don't care what you yahoos want to do, as long as more than 218 of you agree on it.
Yes.
You pick whatever you want. You can make the debt limit conditional on making Bob Cusack Emperor of the United States. It doesn't matter.
As long as you got the votes.
As long as you have 218 votes, and I don't want to hear a bunch of yang from the Tea Party this and that and the other thing. You guys tell me what you want to do. Tell me you got 218 votes. Fine.
Right. But then at some point, he has to back down, even if they pass it through the House, because, as you mentioned, not going to pass the Senate, not going to get to the president.
But couldn't they force a vote? And
yes.
the implicit promise from Senator Rubio, and the reason he likes this, I assume, is that it points out an unpopular provision of the law, but two, you might be able to, and they've done this in the past, and they did this on the No Budget, No Pay Act and other things, where they say, but you have to vote.
Yes. Yes.
We're not saying you have to do it, but we're saying we want an up or down vote on this legislation in exchange for a debt ceiling lift.
I mean, you put the Democratic incumbents from red states on the spot. That's a terrible vote for
Mark
them.
Pryor would have to go out and light the bill on fire.
Yes.
He would light Obamacare on fire and scream about the bailout. He would have no choice.
And if any of those vulnerables actually voted against
the
Rubio bill...
Against it?
Against it, then it's a campaign ad. Then it's a huge campaign ad.
Don't do that. Here's a tip. Here's a little pro tip. Don't do that, Mark Pryor. If you're thinking about voting against the bailout bill, don't do that.
And it's not going to get 60 votes, so you could have, you could have
They'd
a
have
handful
to let
of
5 or 6 off the.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, we get a majority potentially of the Senate. To vote for it, because all the Republicans are going to vote for it.
Right.
So,
exactly.
But yes, there'll be some game playing, but. In the end, the debt limit it's not going to be some type of big deal. The big question is, will it be a clean debt increase?
Well, the alternate, the other thing that they're talking about is, I don't want to characterize it. I don't want to mischaracterize it, but it's sort of silly, Billy, because what they're saying is, we want you to approve the Keystone Pipeline, which is like, they're going to do it anyway. The Democrats, obviously, they've now laboriously issued this report. Yes. The report exists, that they say it won't add to carbon emissions because the oil would be burned somewhere anyway.
Right.
Really? Right. So they've taken this position. They're teeing it up so that in August or whenever, Mary Landrieu can say, and I forced the president to da-da-da-da Keystone Pipeline.
Yes, and that is a slow walk to yes. Now, the only concern the Democrats have to worry about is that, will this depress the base come the midterms? Because they're getting to yes, and it's going to happen before the elections. That somewhat surprised me. I thought they were going to keep delaying it until next year.
Maybe they'll just find a way to sort of like fake announce it, like, oh, the Keystone, what, and then
they'll
just
muddy
target,
the waters, I think,
targeted they'll do targeted announcements in just Louisiana, Arkansas, and North Carolina. Bob Cusack just told us, I should tell you, is going to appear in an upcoming episode of the very funny television show Veep.
That is very true. April 20th or April 27th, depends on
with
whether
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
Yes, well, I'm in several scenes, and after one scene with her, we had exchanged a little high five. So she's pretty cool.
You can tell she's really nasty, very cruel to you. She's probably hard to work with.
I really love the cast; they're pretty cool, and it's really intimidating to be in a scene with Julia.
Not if you're Bob Cusack. No way, no way. Power brokers, beware. Bob Cusack, we thank you for making time for us. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You, Internet, congratulations to you. Do you know why? Because there is much more excellence rocking and rolling just ahead. A great panel will be here, and we will talk about what Bill Clinton is likely to tell Democrats as they confab today at Washington Nationals Park about how to get reelected. Tip, stand closer to him than you stand to Barack Obama. That would be another pro tip for Mark Pryor. But we're going to do it all when we come back, so stick around.
But we just described that example. I mean, first of all, it's a hypothetical example, but you're right, it is my hypothetical. That is completely fair. Again, it's a choice they're making. This doesn't. They had something before, which was a 65-hour job, and maybe no health care and no great health care options. You now give them a new option they didn't have.
And why was that man smiling? Because you don't have to talk when you smile. That was Jason Furman. He is President Obama's top economist in a weirdo briefing that took place yesterday at the White House, followed on the heels of which today a very contentious hearing that took place and is still ongoing on Capitol Hill about the Congressional Budget Office's numbers, their report on Obamacare that said that their original estimates were off. 3 times more hours, working hours, will be given up as a consequence of the law, the CBO now says, and the deficit add-ons are going to be bigger. So what about that? Why does that matter? Does it actually matter? Maybe it doesn't matter at all. People who know what matters include Ford O'Connell. He is a political analyst. Obviously, he's here, so he's a political analyst, but he is also the author of Hail Mary, the 10-Step Playbook for Republican Recovery. He is a Republican. He is a former presidential campaign advisor. He is a pretty big deal. I don't need to tell you that Debbie Dingell is a pretty big deal, but I will tell you that she is the president of D2 Strategies. Yes, she is a Michigan. Do you go Michigander or Michiganian?
I say both.
I was always Michigander, but I'm starting to move towards Michiganian. It has it's more lilting. I like it. And she is, as we should point out, espoused to the Dean of the House, Democrat John Dingell from Michigan. Hello, guys. How are we doing?
Great to be with you guys.
All right, we'll see if that holds. Here's the thing, Debbie. When you get a bad report, you got to say something, right? When the report card's bad and you go home to mom and dad, you got to say something. The teacher didn't like me or whatever. The argument that is going today is, and the New York Times editorial gave the most full airing of this, and it's being picked up in more places, which is, hey, look, if there's a net loss of, and we should clarify here, what we're talking about here, these are not the people who are going to get fired because of Obamacare. These are the people who are going to choose to give up hours, working hours, whether to go to full-time to part-time or leave the labor force entirely, because they will now qualify for subsidies or fully subsidized insurance under the health care law, so they don't need to work in order to get health insurance. When that happens, when you get something like that, the administration is saying, hey, look, people are being more flexible. They have more options now. That's not a super great answer, though, right?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would like to point out that the Washington Post this morning gave 3 Pinocchios, that those that have taken the headlines and are exaggerating all of this about what's the impact. I think this study, like so many other studies, is totally confusing and being taken out of context, etc. And, if you read the study, which I tried to do, but it's as confusing to me as it is to most Americans.
It's long. Yeah.
You're saying it adds to the budget. I read it, the Washington Post said it, that it confirms that this bill is going to continue to reduce the deficit by more than $1 trillion. is, this gets into you're guessing human behavior. The fact of the America is it's not about job creation. It's about labor hours and how many people stay in the workforce. And, I was watching Fox and seeing another point that people are, predicting that people are losing their health insurance, corporate provider,
the dumping,
employer provided. You know what? I've lost mine when I was 65. I thought I'd retire and have it. There was discussion. No, I'm not 65 yet. I'm not yet. But the company has dropped all the autos.
Right.
If you were a salaried employee, gone. 65. You don't have company-provided insurance anymore.
Ford.
A lot of companies we keep forgetting why we passed this bill, because companies were declining to offer employer-provided because they couldn't afford it.
2 points. First, this is bad for Democrats that are up in 2014 because if you're going to live by this CBO, basically, which is what this administration, a lot of Democrats have been doing, you could die by the CBO given the elections that are up. But the other thing is this is bad for America. Anything that creates a disincentive to work and causes Americans to sandbag their livelihood is not good, particularly when it comes to growing the tax base and basically growing the economy. This is a bad sign, period.
Well, but wait. Okay, so the thing for Republicans for it is that this is a more nuanced argument. Debbie's right. The first headline, the first response was, this is job killing. No, this is job suicide. People are volitionally, this is saying, originally they knew that the CBO knew that some number of Americans would say, well, if I don't have to work full time to get health insurance from my employer and I can get it through the government, I'm going to not work. So there was that overstatement. It's a more nuanced argument to make when you have to say, we're creating more dependency.
That's exactly right. You're creating a disincentive to work, and what is that going to do to other social assistance programs? They're going to blow up as a result of this. You're not paying into Social Security. You're not paying into taxes, Medicare, et cetera. Eventually, this is going to ring throughout, and it's going to cause greater debt over time.
But I don't think you're creating a disincentive to work. I think you're creating a job market where more people have the option of working full time. And here is a reality. In the last decade, since this law has been passed, 8.1 million jobs have been added to the economy.
But there's 7 million people sitting on the sideline.
We're going to get Debbie's microphone fixed. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, you will hear every nuance, the subtle syllables from Debbie Dingell. So stick around.
Really political, but I've been doing some reading about Tom Cotton, who's running for Senate. It says here Cotton voted in Congress to change Medicare into a voucher system that will increase out-of-pocket expenses for every senior in Arkansas. Thousands of dollars every year. My grandma and grandpa can't afford that, and neither can my parents.
And that is the kind of political attack ad that you would expect to see on about Halloween, not the first week of February. This is Power Play. Welcome back. Now, Mark Pryor's got a lot of money. And he's been in the United States Senate for a little bit now, and he is one of the best-known names, other than maybe Bill Clinton, in Arkansas politics. And why is he out with an ugly, early attack ad against a guy who hasn't even won the Republican nomination yet? Well, you know why. I don't need to tell you why. But this is Power Play. But looking at the contours of this and what it means as Mr. Pryor's friend, former President William J. as for Jefferson Clinton, talking to Senate Democrats today, Debbie Dingell and Ford O'Connell. Now, the Senate Democrats are meeting today at Nationals Park. And it's a policy retreat. But you know it ain't a policy retreat. You know what they want to talk to Bill Clinton about is this. Bill Clinton's going to give him a pep talk. But they're all going to have one question for him, which is, how do you win in a red state? Because the chances in future of Democratic control in the second half of the second term of Barack Obama are contingent on enough red state Democrats winning elections.
That is correct. And
all right. Well, let's just stop the segment right there.
No, you're absolutely right. They want to know what are the issues and what issues are people caring about and how do you talk about them so that you win.
Yeah.
And by the way, I mean, I think there are also some competitive blue states. So I think everybody that's sitting there is like...
If you think you're
competitive blue
now,
state.
if you think, Debbie Dingell, you're getting out of here before we talk about the Michigan Senate race, you are crazy. But on the question of the red state, so if you're Cotton, Tom Cotton, the congressman who's running to hopefully, he hopes, run against Mark Pryor. You're named by name. Your name ID. Normally, an incumbent doesn't take a chance to increase the name ID of an opponent, but the assumption here is, I think, probably similar to the Obama campaign in 2012, where you say everybody's going to know everybody's name. Let's get out early with the hit and define our opponent. Use an early cash advantage to score some points.
Well, that's exactly right. Pryor is the most vulnerable Democratic incumbent up in 2014. He is fighting for his life. He's going to do everything possible. I disagree with you. You can name another incumbent who's more vulnerable than Pryor. Don't say Hagan.
Why not?
Because she'd be second.
I
agree with you.
No, I think Kay Hagan right now is more vulnerable. She's got a good draw.
He's fighting for his life, okay, and he's going to do everything possible. And eventually, with the current attack ad that they have out there on Pryor, what he wants to do essentially is turn this to social issues and gen up what we'll call single women, minorities, and basically a lot of young people in Arkansas. Make them aware of the issues. Try to link him together with Paul Ryan with respect to Medi-scare. They're going to try everything possible and hit him 9 ways to Sunday. And Tom Cotton is on the rise.
Here's what Havoc 1953 said. Oh, come on. We all know what Bubba's going to say to any Democrat. I need you guys to get out the vote for Hillary or else. And it is not insignificant that Planet Hillary is coming into the larger she is rising in the West because the play for the Clintons in the coming election cycle is going to be interesting. President Obama, much like President Bush in 2006, isn't much in demand in the battleground states. And
that is accurate.
That is accurate. And for the Clintons, though, they are. He is, especially, to come out because he can help. And he is identifies a brand of democratic politics that was popular in border states and popular in western states, and it holds sway. And there's been a lot of Clinton nostalgia among swing voters. What he does and how he does it will be significant for what Hillary Clinton does.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, Bill Clinton is Bill Clinton. For
all
of his
true
foibles,
fact. That's right.
He has the personal human touch that President Obama just doesn't have. He likes people, they connect with them, and he knows how to talk about issues.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton has always had an ability to talk about tough issues. I think what you see Mark Pryor doing is getting out early and defining the issues so people know what they're voting for.
Absolutely, but Clinton is about shaking the money tree and making sure that people are loyal to Hillary in 2016. One of the stories out there, though, is that basically a lot of Democrats in 2014 are worried that Hillary is getting too much money and taking attention away from them. And this is some way for them to help pay it back, smooth over the fences.
Well, you smooth over the fences, but also in this Arkansas race, you're going to hear me talk a lot about this Arkansas race, not just because I have kin in Arkansas, but you're going to hear a lot about this Arkansas race because the Clintons have chosen this as a place to make a stand. The Clintons have said it's their home, but they could easily also say, as much as they did about Blanche Lincoln in 2010, we love you, darling, but the Clintons are making an explicit stand because you have a Clinton acolyte running for governor there. You have longtime Clinton loyalist, and his dad was a friend of Bill Clinton's, part of the family in a lot of ways, and Mark Pryor running for re-election. And the Clintons say they're going to be there, they're going to help, they're going to run. So we're going to watch Arkansas because it's going to be a test of post-peak Clintonism. Can they really have an effect in states where people say, I like you personally, but the Democratic Party I'm against? I get slipped. All right, so here's what I want to know. Blue states are interesting. Iowa, Democrats look like they have, in Bruce Braley, have a good candidate. The Republican field is unclear in Iowa. There are two, really, blue, three. New Hampshire, maybe. Virginia, maybe. We'll see. But Iowa and Michigan have open seats with retiring Democrats. Iowa, right now, you'd have to say, is a lean Dem hold. Braley's running a good race, raising a lot of money. Republicans haven't clarified. But your home state is looking like
it's competitive. There's
which I
no
noted
question.
in my book.
Yeah. No, but I've said that it's competitive, and every time someone says it's a Democratic state, I try to point out to them that every statewide has been Republican, and no Democrat can take it for granted. I think that for Democrats, I'm honest, I am. For Democrats, it's going to be a challenge to have money. Republicans are going to have unlimited amounts of money to spend there.
How about Snyder's reelect?
Rick Snyder's numbers continue to be much lower than his favorability than they should be.
Right.
But he's launched his campaign again. He's got unlimited money. Democrats have to start. They've got a strong candidate in Mark Schauer, who's come out. The DGA has put up some ads, etc. it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But Democrats have to start acting like winners too, which, by the way, they're going to. But Michigan's competitive.
Michigan's a better pickup opportunity right now for Republicans in Iowa. And frankly, right now, Snyder is holding his own. We're much more concerned on the Republican side about Rick Scott in Florida because we actually think Corbett in Pennsylvania may well be toast.
Corbett in Pennsylvania is looking nicely toasted. Now it's good because.
Well, then again, who do the Dems pick? It's sort of like the reason why I didn't pick Kay Hagan in North Carolina. I don't know that Tom Tillis is the nominee until I know
Tom Tillis is the nominee.
Until I know that Tom Tillis is the nominee, I'm not.
Well, his number one guy, the number one opponent.
I understand, but my guys have an innate ability to step in at all the wrong times and never underestimate their ability to do that.
So in blue states, when Republicans do this, so this is really what we're talking about. Because think about it this way, in the Mississippi primary, there's going to be a Mississippi primary. Thad Cochran, right now looks like he's going to lose in Mississippi. The battle in Nebraska, the battle in Oklahoma are going to talk about gradient differences among, there are no non-conservative Republicans running. The message, however, that emerges in what will be, I promise you, obsessive media coverage of these gradient differences among conservatives in red states will be broadcast back into blue states.
Absolutely.
That will give Democrats a chance to say, even as the Republican runs, even as Governor Snyder runs and says, I'm a sensible, fairly moderate, pro-business kind of Republican, that they'll say, but really, he's like those guys down in Mississippi.
Absolutely. Can I say one thing, though, about Mississippi, having run statewide in Mississippi, and that is this is not about Tea Party versus establishment. This is old blood in new blood, and essentially that's what's happening down there.
You've got Tea Party versus moderates in every state across this country.
We have excellence in every seat on this panel. That's what I can say. Certainly, thank you for your excellence, guys. And you, Internet, thank you for being with us today. We're awful glad you could be here. We're in a Charles drought, but Charles is coming back. He will be back. He always comes back like the swallows to Capistrano. And we will be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks for making time for us. We'll see you soon.